Welcome back to Joe Chambers Questions Everything. I'm in Durham, and behind me is the beautiful Durham Cathedral. There's something really magical about Durham. It's got all the historic charm that you might get in cities like Cambridge and Oxford, but I'd say there's less of that tourist vibe, and it really feels like you're stepping back in time when you go and see some of the streets around Durham. And of course, the Durham Cathedral itself, which is nearly 1,000 years old, is simply beautiful, and it makes you wonder how on earth did they manage to make this all the way back then, because it's far better than any of the buildings our society is building right now. Incredible. Construction began in 1093 and was completed in 1133. And some interesting facts about Durham. Durham University is the third oldest in England, which was founded in 1832. And Tony Blair went there, make of that what you will. And the Durham Cathedral was actually used in the Philosopher's Stone and the Chambers of Secrets as a location for Harry Potter. And also it's the Pink Panther's favourite city. Durham, Durham, Durham. And even the buses have tables here, fantastic. But now I was going to go off to Beamish. Beamish is the Living Museum of the North, and it celebrates the history and culture of the northeast of England. And it really feels like stepping back into time. You have these beautiful old vehicles, you have trams, you have buses, and you have different areas that are laid out to represent what places would have looked like, from mines to towns from different eras. And it really felt like stepping back into time, and you even had actors and actresses walking around in costume, which was quite fun to add to the experience. And I was in a 1900s pit village, because coal was king in the northeast a century ago, and the production in the region reached its peak in 1913 with an output of 56.4 million tonnes of coal. And this is what a mining village would have looked like leading up to the First World War. Most of the towns and villages around the place, their sole existence really was to supply the mining industry with coal, and most of the people working here would have moved here for these jobs. Welcome to Beamish, which is a museum of the North, and it's supposed to be like an old mining colliery, so I'm about to go into a mine, which will be very cool. It's like going back in time. So this is a donkey jacket with NCB on the back, National Coal Board, and some t-shirts from the miners' strike. Time for me to become a miner and go down a mine.
So once again, welcome to the Beamish Museum and welcome to Mahogany Working Coal Mining. It's one of the three original things on the site.
So this is the Mahogany Drift mine, and it was opened in 1855 and later closed before coming back to use in 1921. And it was incredible to think that this is how people would have spent their daily lives working down here. Very low. I wouldn't have wanted to have been a tall person back then. now I'm underground in a mine, and the height of this place is 4'6", so I'm having to keep very low.
Well, everything's nice and safe. Well, it's not nice, but it's safe. For years, most of the lads will work in conditions like this. Once again, at the beginning of 1900, still 95% of coal was digged by using the hand tools.
At this point, the guide had turned all the lights off and just had a candle on, but you can't even see it in this video, just to show how dark it would have been when people were working here on a day-to-day basis. But somebody in the group couldn't hack it.
Here in the county, here, 25%.
I'm not going to switch the light back. I'm having a panic.
Although my family were actually miners, I'm very glad that I didn't have to do this kind of job for a living. Being underground, in the dark, all day, and having to take your toilets on a shovel does not look fun, so fair play to them. What a tough shift.
Well, yeah, but even like...
Whilst it was only a bit of fun going into the mine, I think it's worth saying that in the late 19th and early 20th century, coal miners in Northumberland and Durham had a life expectancy of just 53 years, and about 25% of them died before the age of 34. So it was a very dangerous job. Now we're stepping into the building where the coal would have been processed, and this is also where they would weigh the amount of coal that each miner had mined, and this is how they would determine how much money they made for the day.
Very versatile. There's loads more, I can tell you. I will take one more good in for you.
And in the pit village they even had the traditional homes that people would have lived in whilst they were working here. And what's amazing about Beamish is these homes weren't built here originally. They're actually from somewhere else, and they've been taken apart brick by brick. So these houses here actually come from Hetton Coal Company, and 6 of the original 27 homes were moved to Beamish and reassembled to recreate what life was like in the period leading up to the First World War. And those are outdoor toilets. Can you imagine having to go outside when you needed a toilet? And you're never short of a few Newcastle United fans around Beamish. But they were playing this sport that I imagine is something that was played back in the day, where they have these metal rings and they have to skillfully land them in the sand. I don't know how you win, but you could tell this was a fierce battle. A really fun aspect of Beamish is all the different vehicles going around, from trams to buses, and they even have this Northern General Transport bus depot where they house some old school buses. Nothing beats a good spot of growing vegetables. Trying to show off who's got the bigger vegetable. Human nature at its finest. The North East led the development of the railways, and by 1880 the North Eastern Railway Company owned a network of lines covering Northumberland, County Durham and North Yorkshire. And here you can take a short ride on this beautiful steam train. Despite being in the 1900s town, the prices for a pint at the Sun Inn were still $20.25. And this is the Anfield Plain Co-op store, which was taken from Anfield Plain in County Durham, once again brick by brick, and brought here just to give you an idea of how grocery shopping would have been done back in the day. And this is the garage that they have at the exhibition. And it's pretty amazing to see a Model T. And if time hopping to the 1900s wasn't enough, you can also go to the 1950s as well, and they have an old school 1950s style cinema. I think what's so fascinating about Beamish, particularly in today's modern context, is we have to think about how did we get here. Obviously Britain had the Industrial Revolution, we had the World Wars, and at Beamish you kind of get a glimpse into life around the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, before the First World War, and then in this particular part, post-World War II, and the explosion of consumerism and mass production of products. And during these two periods that are covered in Beamish, you can get the sense that these people were building lives that were gradually improving. And I think a lot of the issues that are facing people in Britain today is they don't feel like things are improving. If not just stagnating, they feel like their lives are going backwards. And particularly for the coal mining areas, coal was once the resource that drove energy and the economy, and now that it's lost its significance, it isn't mined as much in the UK anymore, the economic heart of these regions has been taken out. I really loved Beamish. It had a Disneyland quality to it by being in a place that is artificial, but the fact that all of these buildings are actually real buildings that have been taken from their actual original towns and then placed here create this sense of travelling through time. And you can easily get romantic about these periods and what it would have been like. Of course, it would have been very difficult to have been a miner living in these conditions, but for a visit, for a day trip to Beamish, just to get a glimpse without having to go through the actual hardships, Beamish was very nice. If you're like me and you have an interest in history and you want to understand the Industrial Revolution or coal mining or how communities were in the past, and you want to take a time travelling trip back to the past, then this is a great place to go. I definitely recommend Beamish. They also have a pub, they have fish and chips, and you get to ride these vehicles for free. I was on the top of a double-decker bus, and it was just a really great experience, so I'd highly recommend Beamish to anyone who's fancying it. Back in Durham, and I was hoping to see the Durham Cathedral, which is one of the most stunning medieval buildings in Europe, but we were running a little bit late, so my guide took me on this very cool little shortcut. These steps were probably also a good idea to burn off the humongous mixed grill that I'd had outside of Beamish just before. It always helps when you know locals with secret shortcuts. Durham Cathedral isn't just a masterpiece of medieval architecture, it also has a direct link to one of the most important documents in history, which is the Magna Carta. And the Magna Carta was signed in 1215 and was the first document to limit the power of the English king and to protect certain rights, and it laid the foundation for the ideas of law and liberty that influenced democracies around the world. Durham Cathedral's archives hold one of only a handful of surviving copies from 1216. That's just a year after the original, which makes it one of the rarest and most valuable historical documents anywhere in the world. Just look at Durham Cathedral, what absolutely incredible building. To think that this was started in 1093, incredible. This was started by the Normans and it was finished in just 40 years, and it was quite groundbreaking at the time, with the huge stone columns, rounded arches and the rib vaulted ceilings, which was unlike anything seen before in England. And these ribbed arches are some of the earliest examples in Europe, which paved the way for the Gothic style that would then dominate later cathedrals. So Durham Cathedral is what you would call an OG. Original Gothic. Truly a building that was built to last. Hey Durham, nice knockers. What a great day in Durham. But Durham isn't just about the world famous cathedral. The whole county is packed with history, beauty and culture. The city itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with the cathedral and the castle standing side by side for nearly 1,000 years. But step outside the city and you'll find some stunning landscapes. The Durham Dales, High Force Waterfall and miles of walking trails make it a paradise for hikers and nature lovers. And Durham is also shaped by its industrial past. The Beamish Museum brings the region's coal mining and working class heritage to life. And if you don't believe me, then ask these two locals, because they seem to love it here. So come to Durham. It's got it all.